Do you believe in miracles? We got Fizzle in the house. Fizzle, what's good, man? Fizzle, glad to have you here.
Let's go. This the South Harmon podcast. Glad you here today. Hit that Patreon link if you here to stay. Dynasty best ball, that's my favorite way. 40 chess trade show, let's make a trade today or check a AMA. You know Adam at the ATM. Mike always in the building, he gon' stay with him. They gon' start every show off with their own trade. Fantasy's a big ocean, they made their own wave. Make sure you tapping in Tuesdays and Saturdays. Tuesday night, Saturday morning, ain't no better way. Hit that notification bell when the news break. Go subscribe right now, don't get the news late. Destination Devi, that's the team. Dynasty Football, man, that's my favorite thing. I remember Biggie said it was all a dream. Now people watching on their phones and computer screens. Welcome to the team. Let's start the show.
Welcome everybody to America's Game, episode number 3. I am your host Eric Vanek, and you can find me on Twitter at Eric Vanek NFL. And as you can see, once again, joined by Iowa Michael. He made it, survived it from Canton somehow, some way. He's back. He's alive, barely, but he's here. But Mike, what's going on, man? How was Canton? How was everything going, man?
If anybody has a liver that they'd like to donate, I could probably use one. My feet hurt, my Achilles hurt, a lot of walking, a lot of being on the feet, little to no sleep if you can't tell in my voice, the bags under my eyes. It was a incredible week at the expo, but I'm paying for it, Eric. I'm paying for it, E. I'm out here just trying to survive, just make it through this week, and then next week, that's where I will officially be back, right?
Yeah, you need like an extra week vacation.
Yeah, I need a vacation from the vacation. Yes, that's 100% correct.
Well, you were telling me a bunch about it pre-show. It sounded like you guys had a good time and met a lot of people in the community. So, yeah, man, everything's looking good right now for us, for sure.
Oh, my South Harmon's in line for doing some big things, and it's exceeding my wildest imagination, right? Like, everything is just kind of coming together. Getting you on was a big step, right? Having another content creator out there doing stuff, but we'll have some people writing articles for us on the website if that's people's things. So that'll be up. You are doing incredible with America's Game. The outreach that people have is great, and don't worry, people, if you comment on YouTube. I see you out there, like, Mike, I love you, but man, I'm so glad Eric's back. I don't take it badly, okay? That's a compliment. That's a compliment that some of the best moves I could make is just finding the right people, and I think we got one in you, buddy. So I'm real glad that we're doing this, and every single week giving people America's Game, bringing it back from the dead. It tried to get killed off. Some people didn't like it, and unfortunately, they were wrong. It's going to live on forever as long as I got a say in it.
Hell yeah. And the Undertaker rises again. Just that quick little rise up after a choke slam or something. But no, man, I'm glad you guys had fun, man. Everything that sounded like you guys had a blast. I'm going to try and make it next year. Hopefully things settle down in life. Hopefully, knock on wood. So yeah, man, I'm looking forward to that for next year. Sounds like you guys had a blast this year, man. So I'm happy for you. And thanks for the compliments and everything about America's Game. I see the YouTube comments too. I go in there and check them out. Appreciate you guys. Glad you guys like the show. One thing I did want to mention too, I keep getting this question of like, oh man, where do I find the podcast? Where do I find this podcast? Go to any of your podcast forums. Google, Apple, whatever it is, just type in South Harmon Dynasty Football. It'll be there. You probably just type in South Harmon, honestly, and it'll be the first thing that pops up. It's like a white logo with the South Harmon. Kind of looks like a sign. I forgot the hell the word is.
Bunch of shit. There's a bunch of shitheads on.
Bunch of shit on there.
Like if you see some shit on there, you know it probably belongs to us.
Right. So you got one of those on there, and make sure you subscribe there. You'll get this podcast there weekly. We're gonna have some other podcasts coming up here. 4D will be on there. Some other podcasts that we got coming down the pipe. be there as well. And then obviously the YouTube, South Harmon FF is the YouTube. Make sure you guys subscribe there. If you want to watch this in video format, more than welcome to. It'll be on there on Thursday nights though, instead of Thursday mornings for you. But it'll be there. You can see me, Mike, Adam, whoever I have on as a guest will always be on there on YouTube's on Thursday evenings. So just wanted to get that out of the way real quick before we start here.
Huge too, and if you're just wondering, just follow our socials on the day that drops too, right? And we'll have links out. Eric, like you said too, there'll be more podcasts coming soon. 4D's no longer on Destination Devi; it will be here on South Harmon. So that also will be in audio form, podcast form, and we're still going to do it the exact same way we did it over there. But if you also like the YouTube, like Eric said, we will be doing some of them live stream for our patrons, and then it'll also be on YouTube in the video recorded form afterwards. So, yeah, pretty exciting over here. Like, we're getting busy. We just got to do a better job of promoting that podcast feed, it seems. And one thing, too, wherever you consume it, if you could do us a huge favor, make sure you're subscribed. If you're listening on podcast, whatever one you use, leave a review. Like, it helps us. Even if it's just telling me I suck. that's great. I'll take it. And on YouTube, obviously, like, comment, subscribe, talk away. I try to respond to everything that I possibly can on comments. So engagement's a huge thing for us. So hit it up, man, and we're gonna moonball this damn thing. Let's go.
A little less than 3 weeks away too. That first Sunday, week 1. About noon, and you'll see me, Adam, and Mike, and whoever else decides to come on. We're going to be doing the Start Sit show on the YouTube live for everybody, so that'll be every Sunday morning, just like we did for DD last year. And then maybe I'll talk Mike into letting me do a waiver wire show or something too. Throw that on there.
Waiver wire.
I think I'm kind of decent at waiver wire stuff, so I can.
Well, that's why we got you. That's why we got you on the Start Sit. Yeah. Because Adam and I are horrible at Start Sit, so we need at least one person on there just to be good at it.
That's one thing that me and I know Scott, we talk about it a lot. That's one thing I try to improve at every single year, and I think I've gotten a little better at it, but there's just no strategy or true way to do it. Some random Tom Kennedy from last year is going to end up starting being 3 touchdowns or something crazy, and you're like, well, why didn't you tell me to play Tom Kennedy? Because I didn't even know he was alive.
How many times last year too, where we were doing that together, we, vividly in agreement on giving somebody advice on who to start, and they don't do shit.
Yeah,
they don't do anything.
And then the guy that we told to sit, first 5 minutes has a touchdown for 75 yards at least.
Well, that didn't work out so well. Huh?
Yeah, there was a couple of those last year, so hopefully this year will be a little bit better on that.
Yeah, we never really remember our hits, but the misses sure stand out, don't they?
Yeah, because we'll be texting each other in Discord oh man, we told that poor guy to sit this player for this player, and this guy has 2 touchdowns in the first 10 minutes.
100%.
Happens all the time.
I'm looking for it. While I was at the expo, it was there's a whole bunch of preseason football going on, Eric, and I didn't get to watch a damn minute of it. I don't even know what happened. You just catch the cliff notes on Twitter. It's been a wild few days. We got a lot to talk about with all the running back signings. We got Ryan Clark out here saying that George Pickens is much more talented than Justin Jefferson. I don't agree, Mr. Clark, but there's a lot going on, Eric. Where are we going to start? Where are we going to dive in?
Well, I think I want to talk about the running back signings first, because I think those are a little more important. Then we can kind of dig into some games. But we saw Dalvin Cook. He signed with the Jets. It seems like it's up to $8.6 million or something like that. I'm sure it's not fully 8.6. And then Zeke signed with the Patriots for 1 year, up to $6.1 million. Kareem Hunt, who knows where he's ending up. He's bounced away from 3 different teams, and he hasn't signed yet. And left tackle Lenny. When's left tackle Lenny going to sign somewhere too?
Right. We talked on the first one kind of about the Breece Hall situation, right? Mm-hmm. And now we actually have it. The slide started, and then it kind of stopped when Breece got activated off the pup, but we'll kind of see where he settles out as far as dynasty value for some people. Mm-hmm. Again, just like the first one, man, Dalvin Cook doesn't worry me too much for Breece Hall. I know some people are panicked about it, but Dalvin Cook's fine. It's a decent spot for him. I wish it would have been more of a Miami situation where it kind of would have been more clear cut on who's going to get the work. But Brees is just so damn good. Like once he's fully healthy, he's so highly efficient that it just doesn't matter to me. Like I'm still highly interested in Brees Hall. Now, that being said, he's still a running back with an ACL injury. So, you know, like we've seen that go south, at least in the year one back. But if I'm looking from a dynasty lens, Eric, for 2024, I'm going like Brees Hall's still a guy I kind of want around my team, right? We try to look him at 1 year windows, but I think he's one of those guys that's different for me where I'll look at him in a 2 year window at least. And 2024 still looks good. Even this year, though, like Dalvin doesn't scare me that much, man. He kind of looked washed, to be honest, last year at times. And yeah, I'm good. Now, the Zeke one with Ramondre was interesting. I don't think it's that bad for Ramondre, right? If we're going to talk about washed running backs, I think Zeke's at the top of your list. Ain't he? He's been there for a minute. But just the fact that they wanted to bring somebody else in to kind of spell Rhino, and this is kind of how I view both of these running back signings, is just spell, right? One of them you're doing it because you got your superstar coming off a knee injury, and the other one you don't want to run the dude into the ground. Like I think Ramondre is very good. It's going to be interesting to see though how the goal line situation works, like because that would actually hurt Ramondre's production if Zeke's in there damn near every time they get inside the 10, just doing Zeke things, hammering it right up the middle. But I think we talked about last week on the show, it does kill the whole Kevin Harris thing, right? Like we can just go ahead and just put that to bed. And can we do it with Pierre Strong too? Like the Ty Montgomery hope I had too, is that dead too?
Yeah, I viewed it as Ty Montgomery and Kevin Harris are probably dead. I bet you they still keep Montgomery because he's useful on special teams and stuff. Kevin Harris, I think that's probably the one that affects the most. He might just get straight up cut, or they'll try and sneak him onto the practice squad, probably is what's going to happen there for him.
All right.
But yeah, I think it's going to be Stevenson, Zeke, Pierre Strong. They can't cut him or anything because they use such a good pick on him. So I don't think they're going to give up on him. They might keep Montgomery as like the fourth running back and then try and sneak Harris onto the practice squad is how I took it. So I have cut a couple Kevin Harrises that I did have to pick up some other running backs or other players that I think could be useful still that are going to make teams. So like Jaleel McLaughlin from Denver. Elijah Dotson from the Chargers. I picked him up a couple spots. Damian Williams signed with the Raiders. I think he has a small chance to possibly make that team because there's really not, after Zamir White, Amir Abdullah, there really isn't too much. So I think Damian Williams has a shot to maybe make a team. I know a lot of people are picking up, believe it is Elijah Wilson.
I've seen that.
Emmanuel Wilson. I knew it was an E.
It was an E. Wilson.
Yeah, he had 6 carries, 111 yards, 2 touchdowns. One of them was for 80 yards, obviously. So I really liked his talent and what I saw from those couple runs. But you have to remember, Green Bay only kept 2 running backs last year at their cutdowns. They kept A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones, and that was it. Because me and Scott thought Tyler Goodson was a lock, and they didn't keep Tyler Goodson. They cut him and put him onto the practice squad. And actually, Goodson started the game the other day for them. So I'm kind of thinking Goodson has the leg up at the third running back job, and hopefully he can crack it this year because he looked pretty solid too. I know he only had 3 carries for 2 yards, 1 catch for 9 yards, but just in his limited little playing there, I thought he looked pretty good.
Kind of crazy too, like the Elijah, the Dotson thing that you bring up with the Chargers, right? I did have to go back and look because that guy went off, and like you just see the Twitter highlight and you go, "Holy hell!" Like, wow, this is what we've been waiting for the backup running back for LA for a while. But when I looked at it, apparently, Mr. Elijah Spiller had a really long run that got called back for holding. Yes, so it wasn't like he did absolutely nothing or didn't look explosive as well. So be one to monitor. But if you're just going off of Twitter highlights, I mean, that's probably the guy you run out to the waiver wire right away and just might as well make sure he's picked up on every single team that I can possibly get him.
And then on Monday, they cut Larry Roundtree as well. So
finally.
So they have their 4 running backs with Eckler, Dotson, Kelly, Spiller, and they kept 4 running backs the last couple years. So that's probably a good possibility that Dotson is going to make the team. If not, they're going to definitely try to sneak him onto the practice squad. So, but yeah, he looked really good. 6 for 92, 2 touchdowns. He didn't catch the ball or anything, but he looked explosive. He's a little small. But I'm still going to pick him up. McLaughlin, same thing. He's a smaller back, but everything that I've heard and read on Jaleel McLaughlin for Denver is he's going to make the team. He's the 3rd running back right now. He's done better than Tyler Beatty and Tony Jones. And I when I looked at the tape too, I saw the same thing. So
we really got to kind of call our shot right now on the Jets backfield, don't we? With Dalvin Cook there, Brees coming off the pup. Michael Carter, Bam Knight, Abanikanda. Like, which one is the odd man out, do you think? I know you said last week you thought Michael Carter, and then I'm sitting here watching the Hard Knocks, and this dude's like prominently featured on Hard Knocks, so I'm going, are they really going to cut a guy? Maybe it's for TV, right? Maybe they kind of know or whatever, but is Michael Carter going to be that dude? Are they going to keep Bam and they're going to keep Abanikanda?
Yeah, I think Carter's kind of like, one of the leaders on the team. He's obviously the veteran in the running back room, which is kind of crazy to think about because he's only been in the league 2 years or 3 years. Abanikanda, I don't think they can cut him because somebody's going to pick him up right away, and obviously they used a draft pick on him. I think it's down to Carter and Zonovan Knight, and I just don't know how they'd be able to cut Carter. I bet you they're going to try and trade either Carter or Zonovan Knight would probably be my guess, and try and get some value out of one of those guys. That would be my guess. Travis Dye, he played a lot in the 4th quarter, but he's going to get cut just because there's just no room here, especially now adding Dalvin. Yeah, they're going to have to keep 4 running backs. So, none of them played on special teams that I'm looking at. So Abanikanda is going to have to probably learn some special teams if he's going to make the team. I know Michael Carter can play some special teams, so he might have to revert back to special teams a little bit.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I think Abanikanda is a lock because they can't they can't sneak him on a practice squad. Somebody will take him easily. He's the lock. I really think it is between Carter and Bam Knight, but I'm having such a hard time deciding which one it's going to be, right? Because Michael Carter, like you said, just my opinion, I would rather they keep Bam Knight. Like I'd rather he's showed me more than Michael Carter probably ever has, but. You watch Hard Knocks, it's like his teammates like him. Is this like the Craig Reynolds thing? Like, does the organization really like him? Is this something where they see if they have a market for him? But if there's nothing, which is actually pretty reasonable that there won't be a market anywhere, somebody goes, you're going to end up having to cut one of these guys anyways. We'll pick them up when you're done.
Right.
I think it might be the case where Bam Knight's the odd man out, right? And it's going to be Dalvin, Brees, Michael Carter, and Abanikanda probably as a game day inactive most of the time until he learns how to play some special teams. So it's going to be interesting. Sure. That Dalvin Cook thing really kind of muddy that situation up. The New England one's a lot more clear. It's like Pierre Strong, Kevin Harris, who cares? But there's so many good running backs on the Jets, man, which is so kind of surprising they wanted to add another one in Dalvin.
Right. And then, we looked at Kareem Hunt, and we thought maybe the Saints – and then the Colts brought him in. I think the Vikings brought him in too. I mean, both the Colts and the Saints did sign somebody this week. So the Colts signed Jason Huntley. He isn't going to make the team. And the Saints signed Darrell Williams, who I don't think is going to make the team either. But then Kendre got hurt. He had a knee sprain. So I'm not sure how long he's going to miss if he misses the first week of the season. Obviously not going to cut him, but we'll see what happens there. Kamara is going to miss the first 3 games, so Darrell Williams might, stick around for the first 3 weeks until Kamara gets back.
When I read that Kareem Hunt left New Orleans without a deal, I just did one of these, man. Dodged a bullet there for now.
From what they reported was his agents told him, hey, don't sign anything, go to Indy because they might be offering more money. Right. So, and then that didn't materialize.
Yeah, and then
that didn't happen. Minnesota would be a good spot, but I thought Ty Chandler, one of my favorites, looked really good. He had 11 for 41, 4 catches for 29 yards, and he got a bunch of dump offs to him there. and he was making moves out of the backfield, looked very strong in the pass game. So I really think Ty Chandler is going to be the backup there. Abram Smith played over Dwayne McBride too. And Abram Smith was just brought in like the week before. So that's a little concerning to me on McBride. But McBride did return 3 kickoffs during the game. So he was like their main kickoff guy because Kenny Nwangwu did not play because he's hurt. So I don't think they would cut McBride. Abram Smith didn't really do anything that, was noteworthy or anything like that. But, McBride is going to have to make this team just based off of special teams, I think.
This is the crazy thing about Abram Smith, right? Really into him when he came out into the league. Talked myself into that. I think at the time he had the biggest like signing bonus for an undrafted free agent, like through the whole cycle. Like he got the most amount of money. So I was like, oh, that's definitely telling me something. And then it never materialized. Did he play in the XFL or the USFL? I forget. He went to one, and he was
one of them. He was the leading rusher.
Yeah. And now I kind of find myself in these deeper leagues, like picking up a little Abram Smith just to see, because I think with all the stuff coming out of Minnesota, like you're right. Like I look at Ty Chandler and I'm going, like, come on, just do it already, right? Just make Madison that like plotter, like change of pace, because I think that's really what he is personally. Like I'm not too excited for Alexander Madison, but like let me get some Ty Chandler run here. Come on, let's do it. Let's do it. And they just keep kind of bringing guys in, right? They just keep bringing guys in. So I don't think they feel too good about it. So I don't know. When I'm out there in the waiver wires just grinding the stuff, like these deep best balls, I don't really like these type of running backs. But, Eric, there's nothing else out there. There's nothing for wide receivers. Like, I'm getting down in the muck when you're getting to 35, 36-man rosters. So Abram Smith has been one that, why not? Why not, right?
I think a lot of our league mates, because obviously they probably listen to this show, they listen to Scott Connor, they listen to others out there, and the fantasy football space has just gotten a lot smarter, especially with these pickups and roster construction, especially like with Scott talking about roster construction, how to do these types of leagues. Like, these roster cloggers, a lot of people are just not carrying them anymore, and they're carrying all the running backs. Like if you have a pulse, you're on a team. So it's hard fighting for these running backs right now and then trying to figure out which one you want. So,
yeah. How about the Treylon Burks injury today? Like,
yeah.
Are you shitting your pants as much as I am? Like it. All right. So I watched the video, and it doesn't look as bad as like what was reported. But then you see his teammates coming over to him and tapping him on the shoulder. He doesn't look very happy about being down on the ground. So I'm praying it's just like just checking on your buddy real quick, and not one of those like we heard something and we know something's bad and that's why he's so despondent. But
I think there's a test they can do on the field right there to kind of check the stability of the ACL.
Right,
so
right.
Yeah, I haven't heard if that passed or if that was good or anything like that. Hopefully it's just like a bone bruise or something like that. I don't really want to speculate until we really know, but if Treylon's out, that sucks, but honestly then the Titans just become the same kind of offense we thought they were going to be anyways. One receiver, one running back, and that was it.
All right, so I got something as of 6 minutes ago from Rappaport, right?
Okay.
Treylon Burks suffered an LCL sprain during practice today. Good news is Burks should only miss a few weeks, a scare, but a solid result.
Okay. So, yeah,
right.
I think the LCL is I believe it's an inner ligament because that's one of the really harder ones to tear. But, yeah, spraining that, sure, it sucks. We're literally like a little less than a month away from the season. So, yeah, I'll take that result. For sure.
Yeah, literally like as the news came across Sleeper today, like a trade goes through and my heart sank. Because I had a pending Treylon Burks trade out there.
Oh, okay.
And it actually was that one. And I'm going, oh, shit. Like, I don't know. I think I would have been okay with the trade even if it was, like, knock on wood, right? Like, something severe where he ended the season. Because it was Elijah Moore and Noah Gray in a lineup league. And I don't give a shit about tight ends. Like, these guys especially. Like, just a roster clogger if I've ever seen one for Treylon. But, in the immediate, right, you look and you go, well, Elijah Moore could, and you'd have to sit on Treylon for a year. It's a team that I'm not really competing on anyway, so that's why I was like, okay, whatever. But I think I would have been okay with it, but imagine that. Like, all I needed was that sleeper notification just to get me a cheaper share of Treylon, huh?
Okay, got it. Because, I mean, if Treylon was out for the year, man, that would definitely hamper that offense. But I think Hopkins would,
feast.
He might get 175 targets. And that's not a joke.
We never want to see injuries, right? But everybody who was holding some D-Hop shares was going.
Yeah, they were like the
Chigga guys were going. Yeah, what's up? Yeah, back in your caves, boys.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna pop through some of these box scores and kind of talk about some of the standouts that I saw. So the first game of the week was Houston and New England. The only one who really stood out, because this game was kind of boring to be honest, was Tank Dell. I don't know if you saw any of his highlights.
Yeah, it was kind of the big thing. I didn't get to see a whole lot of the highlights. I just saw the stat line and then Twitter going crazy the next day for Tank Dell. And I'm at the expo with Scott Connor, so we got to talk about it.
Right.
His thoughts on it. He's just smiling ear to ear, like, "Oh yeah, I'll sell all my Tank Dell. Come get him."
Oh boys. Yeah. He's all over that. Yeah, any third you can probably get Tank Dell from Scott Connor for sure. But yeah, 5 for 65, a touchdown. He actually looked a lot bigger than I thought he was, so that was positive. He was actually playing on the outside quite a bit too. So
nice.
I think he's kind of just a best ball only option for me. I have him in a few lineup leagues, but mostly best ball leagues is where I have him. So it was nice to see him do good. Like CJ Stroud, they were getting pressured quite a bit. He didn't look very good. I mean, obviously it's his first game, and he only played a drive. So want to see a little bit more from CJ Stroud this week. But other than that, it was kind of a boring game.
It was on the Houston side, right? Xavier Valade must have been so bad because he got cut shortly after that.
And the Steelers just picked him up. So I went ahead, and if you get cut from your first team, it's probably not a good sign.
Cough Tyon Evans.
Yeah. So I cut all my Xavier Valade that I had. I cut all my Amari DeMercados as well, just because he didn't really do great, and he's probably going to get cut anyways. They brought in Marlon Mack before he popped his Achilles, so obviously that was a bad sign already. So I'm trying to cut those guys. You got to be on top of it, and then move on and pick up these other options that are looking better. So
I did see a lot of pickups in my leagues all over the place, especially these best ball deep ones. We were just talking how gross are. Malik Cunningham on the Patriots side. No,
absolutely not. No.
At one point, he was going to play wide receiver. I said he actually played quarterback this game.
Yeah, he did play quarterback. He can rush the ball, but he's just not good passing the ball. There's no thanks. He's never going to make it.
Not good passing the ball with not very good weapons. Probably not a very good combination. Yeah.
Then looking at the Vikings and Seahawks game, that was the next game. We talked a little bit about Ty Chandler and McBride, those guys already. So we're pretty good on the Vikings side. Seahawks side, though, the one who actually really impressed me was Drew Lock.
What?
Yes,
what?
Drew Lock. That's kind of one of the key backups I would pick up for sure, because I think if he was Geno got hurt or whatever and Drew Lock had to start, I think Drew Lock could and not be as good as Geno and as efficient as Geno was, but I think he could do pretty good, especially with these three key weapons that he has: Lockett, JSN, and DK. Obviously, their running game's really good, and the offensive line is definitely a top 10 offensive line in my opinion. So he's got, I tell you what, man, if you just watch some of the highlights of Drew Lock, obviously this is easy. Oh yeah, Eric, he didn't get pressured. He's just standing there. Any quarterback can do that. Yeah, I get that. But he just looks so pretty throwing the ball when he just has a clean pocket, doesn't have to move as much or anything. And he can just sit back there and just throw, man. He has got one of the prettiest balls in the league when he throws it. He's got really good accuracy too. So definitely a guy I want to hold on to in some of my leagues for sure.
You know how antithetical I think rostering backup quarterbacks is in best ball.
Mm-hmm.
I will make the
best ball, it
exception.
sucks.
Well, I'd be making the exception for Drew Lock, right? As long as I have rosters that 30-man roster. If I'm playing with 25-man rosters, no, like you don't have room for that. But 30-man rosters, Drew Lock is one of those guys I'm making the exception for a couple reasons, Eric. Like it warms my heart that you said he looked really good. Like that you're interested in him.
He always looks good in preseason. Then he gets in there. And
but this is the other thing, man. I know they locked Geno up, and like the fan base likes Geno, and it was a nice story. But the reality is, Geno wasn't very good at sometimes last year. Like leading the league in danger plays is probably not where you want to be at all the time. I don't wish injury on anybody, but it's also not crazy to think like if he doesn't play well, like we see old Geno again, and last year's Geno was just kind of an aberration. Like Drew Lock's going to get some run. Like this is a backup quarterback who's got talent, who could make some noise. So that is one of the few backups in the entire league. I'm going, yep. Also with your boy, we'll get to him in a little bit, I'm sure. But we got another backup quarterback where I'm going, yeah, I should probably roster this dude too, even in best ball. So, little teaser right there.
All right. Next game up was the Packers and the Bengals. So looking at the Packers side, we talked about Emmanuel Wilson a little bit ago, so I'm not going to mention him too much. I just think he could make the team, sure, if he keeps just having these phenomenal games. But I think the more likely outcome for him is he's going to be a taxi squad player, just because Green Bay is showing they'll keep 2 or 3 running backs at most. Like haven't seen them keep 4 in a long time. So that's kind of where I'm thinking like the numbers are going to be a little bit against him unless he can sneak into that RB3 job somehow. But Tyler Goodson was returning kicks. He returned 3 kicks. So I think Tyler Goodson's got the leg up to be the 3rd running back because he can do the kick returning. So
something he did at Iowa. Something he did in college, at Iowa, and he did quite well too. So he's got that special teams ability.
Yeah, and I picked up a bunch of Tyler Goodson this week. So if you saw Miami Sharks picking up Tyler Goodson, that is why. So Jordan Love started the game. He looked pretty good. They had all the starters out there with him: Christian Watson, Aaron Jones, Musgrave, all those guys, Jaden Reed, Dubs. Jordan Love looked pretty good for the one drive that he was in there. So hopefully that continues. But the one who actually looked pretty decent, even though I completely shit on him all the time, is Sean Clifford. He went 20 for 26, 208 yards, a touchdown, and 2 picks. Now, the 2 picks were pretty bad. The one he threw it, just kept his eyes right on the guy and threw it and right to the defender, man. Both were bad picks, but my thing with him was he was aggressive. He's throwing it into tight windows. And that was just something I didn't expect from Clifford. He's just kind of out there winging it, not giving a fuck, and just throwing it. So, liked what I saw from Clifford. I still don't love him. I think he's better than like Trace McSorley and all that. I'll give him that. But not somebody I'm still going to pick up, even though he's the backup to Jordan Love, because those are the only 2 quarterbacks. Alex Mago did play, but there was like 5 minutes left in the 4th quarter. He didn't even throw a pass.
Right.
But yeah, a lot of these like receivers look good too. So
there's a couple best ball receivers that I have rostered quite a few places, right? Dontavian Wicks and Samari Torre. So
yes,
both of those guys, like I'm interested in them. Lineup leagues, I can't tell you the roster of these dudes, like even as taxi squad stashes, because they're probably not good bets, right? That's not proper roster construction to have these kind of guys. But best ball, I'm interested in them just because, right? Like I think Romeo Dobbs is fine. Like I got some interest in Jaden Reed and Christian Watson is talented, but we still need to kind of really see it. I'm thinking, this could be a bad Green Bay team, and why not have maybe the 3rd or 4th wide receiver, whoever actually works their way out of this.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to be like bad, but I could see like 7-10, something like that.
Right, but just trailing enough, right, where they're going to have to throw, and they're going to need to throw deep, and they're going to need a couple of wide receivers like those guys to kind of stretch the field. So I'm interested to see which one, it'll be easy if they just, practice squad one of these guys, or they don't actually make the 53, then I'll know for sure. And but the other one I'll be all over.
The one guy, he only had 1 catch for 8 yards, but looked really good. And everything that I've seen so far is Luke Musgrave. So if you got Luke Musgrave in your leagues, I think he's going to be a big option for them this year, so look out for him.
Yeah, I think I might be eating shit on that Luke Musgrave, Tucker Kraft take, from the draft. I think that might be my downfall this year, right? It's not looking good so far for me, even though they've said Tucker Kraft has actually looked pretty good at practice too. All the rave has been about Musgrave.
Me and Scott talked about that too. There's like 4 or 5 teams where I'm sitting there picking in round 2 and I got Musgrave, and it comes around the round 3 and Tucker Kraft's still sitting there. I just took them both.
Why not?
Yeah, especially in these higher tight end premium leagues. So that was one thing that we did do. Bengals, Chris Evans had a decent game. The one thing that Scott brought up to me, since he's a Bengals fan, I guess Chase Brown was piss poor in pass protection, even though I talked about him last week as being, he looked better in it. But yeah, I guess he was piss poor in the pass protection during the game. So, Chris Evans might be the guy out there on passing downs, and Chase Brown might be just, a backup to Mixon running the ball. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. The only other guy I want to bring up from the Bengals was Andre Osavis, the Princeton wide receiver. He looks really good. I think he makes the team for sure. He's too talented to let him go to waivers or anything like that. So I think he's going to be the number 4 or 5 receiver for them for sure.
I knew absolutely nothing about him until last year. We had Shane Hallam on our podcast and talked about him, and kind of threw it out there. And this is, we're like ways away from the draft at this point. So that was one that I've always been following and been enthralled with him. The YouTube highlights, right? Like I can't really watch a Princeton game on ESPN at any given time. Right. So like that didn't really happen. So you had to watch all the YouTube highlights and kind of get it that way. But to see him come out and actually play in the preseason and see how good he actually looks, I'm kind of excited for this guy, at least as a Trent Irwin replacement at the very least.
Yeah, for sure. Next game up was Giants and Lions. Giants, there's honestly really not much to talk about here. Eric Gray did return 3 kicks, so they're trying out Eric Gray at the kick returner to make him, earn that fucking third, running back spot for sure. Because obviously Breida, 1 carry, 1 yard, then they got him out of here before he breaks in half. And none of the other running backs really did anything. Ja'Shawn Corbin had a 33-yard run that was late in the game, so nothing really there at all. Wide receivers, Cole Beasley did catch a lot early on. I'm hoping Cole Beasley makes that team because I think he's better than Crowder and David Sills. He's probably better than Sterling Shepard on one leg at this point too. So
right.
I have picked up some Cole Beasley. Lions, honestly, another team that, not much. I did see Jahmyr Gibbs played a little bit. He had a really explosive run up the middle, catch for 18 yards. Jahmyr Gibbs looks like he's going to be phenomenal. I like that. Other than that, nobody else really played that I'm, too interested in. Jamison Williams, I did see. He came up grabbing his hamstring at practice today, so hopefully he's okay.
I was going to say the one thing that stood out from that game for me was the 7 targets and only 2 catches he had. Like they were trying to get him the football, and he had a couple drops, a couple off-target passes, but and then you factor in the hamstring injury. I know our guy Jeff Mueller, injury guy over at Test Station Debbie, was saying, well, the good news is he's got 9.5 weeks to return from this. So he had to throw that little shade and shot in. So.
Yeah, hopefully he's all right, but he was playing deep into the third quarter too. So I think that's just, hey, you need to get out there because you didn't play last year. So I think that's kind of one of those things. I wouldn't read too much into him playing deep into the game like that.
Right. We got a question about him too on the AMA. Is it like I've been pretty out on him, and like anywhere I can sell him, and I have been for a while.
You sold him to me in one of our leagues.
I sold one to you, but I was pretty much just taking any first that I could really get for him and just re-rolling it. Do you think with him specifically, Eric, I want your opinion on it. Is it better if you're not feeling it, like you're not into Jamison Williams at this point? Is it better to try to sell him now with all this crap going on, or do you wait until it's like maybe 1 or 2 weeks before he's set to return? Do you think there's a little hype bump that you might get before he comes back?
Yeah, I think there will be a little hype bump for sure. If you could sell him for 2024 first, 2025 first right now, I think you can definitely do it and re-roll for sure. If you're only getting a second, I think I personally would rather just hold because he's just way too talented to not just see what happens there. Like last year, he tore his ACL in January, the end of January in the the championship game, and it took him a while. Like, yeah, I know Godwin and Gallup kind of tore their ACLs around the same time, and they were back. And then Odell, he tore his, not that long after Jameson, and he didn't even play all year. So it just kind of depends on the person. I still really like him. He was my second graded wide receiver in the draft, so I was really high on him. And I think he's still worth holding on to personally. But I get it. If you can get a first and just re-roll it and get rid of the headache, I get it. I definitely get it.
Oh, I'm 100% with you, though. If the offer is a second, nah, I'm good, man.
Right.
Like maybe 2 seconds, or if it's 2 seconds and one of them
2 seconds, I could be okay with.
You
go second and another wide receiver. Give me a second and Van Jefferson.
Give me a
leverage. I can maybe do that. Yeah.
Right. Or you go on Dynasty Daddy, or you go on one of our league simulator on SouthHarmonFF.com, and you plug it in, and that second's like a lock for top 3. Like the team's so bad. Okay. I could understand that, but yeah, if I'm really not getting a first, though, I'm not too interested unless you kind of make it interesting on the back end with your seconds.
Right. Next game up here, Falcons and Dolphins. So Falcons, the only really guy to talk about was Godwin Igwebuike, 13 for 70 and a touchdown. He actually looked pretty good. He also returned a kick as well, so he's got that special teams upside. They just signed him. He's probably going to be their 4th running back, I'm guessing, so I did pick up a little bit of him. Obviously, they got Bijan Algier and Cordell Patterson ahead of him, but I think Igwebuike's got a shot. They also have Carlos Washington Jr., who looked decent, but I think Igwebuike has outplayed him so far, and he has the special teams ability. And then looking quickly at Miami, Mike White started. Skylar Thompson came in after. Both of them threw interceptions that were pretty bad, but it is what it is. But I think they're still battling it out to see who's the number 2 is going to be there.
Yeah.
Myles Gaskin, 7 for 57 on the ground, 2 for 20 catching the ball. And he played over Salvin Ahmed, played over Devin Achane, so he was the starter for this game. So I really like that for Gaskin. I still don't know if he's going to make the team. He might be the 4th running back, or he might get cut or traded. But I want Myles Gaskin. Wherever he goes, if he gets cut and, say, Minnesota picks him up, or maybe he goes to Dallas and he's Tony Pollard's backup, I definitely want Myles Gaskin because that guy is really talented. He's just kind of stuck in this rut behind, Jeff Wilson and Mostert. Now they got a chain. So
I'm with you. You called it last week when we were talking about it. We were trying to figure these guys out. I think this week kind of just solidified for me. Like, I want Myles Gaskin, and I don't really have any interest in Ahmed at this point. But Gaskin, yes. Like you said, even if it's not here in Miami, I think it'll be somewhere else. He's too damn good. Like, we saw Ahmed be good at times over his career, but I've seen much more out of Myles Gaskin, in my opinion. And this game just kind of solidified it, where I'm going, yeah, he's still got the juice. So somebody's going to want him somewhere if he gets let go.
A chain looked pretty good too. They're trying to manufacture touches for him, so the quick screens and stuff like that in the receiving game. So he did get a couple of those. He had 4 for 41, catching the ball, ran the ball 10 times for 25 yards. I saw one time it was I don't remember if it was goal line or short yards. I think it was short yards, and they sent him up the middle. He just got eaten up and stuffed.
Good call.
Yeah. They want to see, hey, maybe he's got a knack for it and can do it. But it's best to try that in preseason instead of regular season when a game's on the line. So
best to try it against guys who will be selling insurance, as you said last week, right? Exactly. Let's try that before we get to the real, try it against Quinnen Williams in the regular season and see what happens to you.
Yeah, Quinnen Williams, what a beast.
That guy's an animal. Love him.
Steelers and Bucks. That's the next game. So Kenny Pickett, his first drive, 6 for 7, 70 yards and a touchdown. Basically just threw the ball the entire drive. Everybody was out there. Najee, Jalen Warren, Pickens, Deontay, all those guys were out there with him. Kenny Pickett looked really good. Went just right down the field on a pretty good defense. I don't know if their first team defense played or not, but still impressive nonetheless to do that right out the gates there. George Pickens caught the touchdown right over the middle. That was a nice play. Deontay caught 3 balls. Freiermuth caught one over the middle. So, yeah, Steelers looked pretty good. Calvin Austin caught a long ball from Mason Rudolph, but that was he just outran the guy and just was outran him. So nothing like too major there. I bet Calvin Austin has a shot to make it as like the 5th or 6th receiver. He didn't return any kicks though. So hopefully he can maybe show that a little bit over the next couple weeks. But yeah, the Steelers overall look pretty good.
I'm pretty excited too. Kenny Pickett did. This is one of the ones where I watched that first drive because I've been pounding the table kind of for Kenny Pickett, and I always thought his dynasty ADP at least was pretty damn disrespectful of where he actually should be going. So the fact that he looked that good on that first drive, and like I said, I don't know if it was really against the Bucs, first team defense. It's just a preseason, but it's good to see him first preseason game come out and be clicking already. Right out the gates.
I'm looking at the.
I didn't see anybody at names.
None of the big names are out there. So I bet you that was against the second team.
I see a lot of guys that maybe could sell insurance, right? They got the names for it, right? Like Josh Hayes Insurance, maybe Marquise Watts and Associates.
Yeah, Brandon Bouye Randall. I'll be definitely calling him to get an insurance quote on Monday. Tampa Bay, Baker Mayfield actually looked really good. 8 for 9, 63 and a touchdown. He was efficient. I thought Kyle Trask actually looked pretty decent as well. He did throw a pick, but I thought Trask looked good. I think sounds like Mayfield's going to be the starter and Trask is going to be the backup. And I think that's kind of what they're going to have to do anyways, because you can't put Trask out there first. And if you bench him for Mayfield, then Trask is just done because you already benched him. With Mayfield, he's a new guy. You sign him. He's the veteran. If he fails, you can go to Trask and it'll be all right. So I think, you can do that for sure with them. Running back wise, Sean Tucker, he looked pretty solid, I thought, in his late game playing. I don't think he had I think it was a long run or a long pass. I forget which one that he took, but it got called back on a holder. Yeah. But he looked solid. They didn't do shit running the ball. Receiving though, so Trey Palmer, he looked pretty good. He caught the touchdown from Baker, 4 for 33 and a touchdown. Devin Tompkins, 2 for 9. I've heard him mentioned a lot during training camp, and him and Mayfield have a connection. So I think either Trey Palmer or Devin Tompkins might take that third wide receiver role that Russell Gage just lost today, since Russell Gage tore his ACL. He's out for the year. So I think one of those guys has a shot to definitely make it as the 3rd or 4th receiver in that offense. And if you have Russell Gage, go ahead and just cut him because he is borderline keepable right now anyway. So
the 3rd wide receiver role for the Buccaneers wasn't that enticing to begin with, and having Russell Gage with the torn knee droppable. I am kind of interested. I did see right after that game though the Trey Palmer hype was kind of going across the Twitter sphere, and people were talking about him. So, like I said, it's still not that enticing being the 3rd wide receiver on the Bucs offense, but I'd probably give him the ultimate backhanded compliment. I'm interested in Trey Palmer and best ball. How about that?
For sure. Next game up was Washington and Cleveland. So I did watch most of this game. So Washington, Sam Howell started. He played into the second quarter there. 9 for 12, 77 yards and a touchdown. He was just getting pressured, quite a bit. But I thought he looked all right. It's nothing. He's never going to light up the scoreboard or anything, I don't think, but he looked fine. They had Jahan Dotson and McLaurin and all those guys out there playing with him. Dotson made a nice leaping catch that was a little high from Howell, but Dotson caught it and took it into the end zone, so that was a nice play. Running backs didn't really do much. Chris Rodriguez had a couple late runs that were nice. But yeah, just kind of Sam Howell. He looked fine. Nothing bad there.
Cole Turner being heavily involved was actually
yeah.
kind of for the tight ends. Like we're kind of seeing how that's going to shake out. Logan Thomas has always had talent, but the injury bugs have man, I don't know
had
if
some bad injuries.
at what point is he just nothing, and like we're waiting for that next guy. And I kind of thought maybe it might be this year, and Cole Turner kind of seems that guy. You know, I had some of Marnie Rogers hope earlier, but that went out the window when he got hurt. So lean on Cole Turner. I know John Bates was going to be a thing last year, and that never really materialized. So maybe Cole Turner this year, and him being involved in week 1 was actually kind of nice to see.
Yeah, Turner was getting some hype last year during camp, and then he got hurt. Bates was just really like a good blocker. I mean, he was okay in the receiving game, but Cole Turner is a good sneaky one in our deeper leagues if he's still available.
I did actually see somebody at the Fantasy Football Expo wearing a Jahan Dotson jersey, so it's probably the first one I've seen in a while. Like in the wild, a Commanders Jahan Dotson jersey. I might have to get one now. It looked clean with that number 1.
I absolutely love their helmets. That matte finish on those helmets, man. That is like probably the sexiest helmet in the NFL for me.
Let's hope the new ownership doesn't screw that up, hey?
Well, they can. They could put the Redskin back on the side of it for me.
There you go.
The Browns. So Watson started 3 for 3, 12 yards, nothing amazing. He did run the ball, 3 carries, 20 yards. I was trying to like, don't get hurt. Like
we were watching it at the Expo party on Friday night, and I'm like, what are we doing, man? We're running read option with Deshaun Watson in the first week preseason. Like, come on, don't do this. Don't do this. Cleveland will riot. They will riot.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that would suck so bad if that happened. The other quarterbacks were okay, but Dorian Thompson-Robinson again, 9 for 10, 102 yards, and a touchdown. He's been like the talk of a lot of the Cleveland stuff going around, that he just looks really, really good. I mean, Josh Dobbs has been in the league for how many ever years now and has never done anything, so Thompson-Robinson is definitely the backup of the future here, if not, sooner rather than later. Demetric Felton again, 8 carries, 31 yards, led the team in rushing again. I think Demetric Felton is definitely going to make this team as the third running back. Jerome Ford hasn't played yet in either of the 2 games. He's been hurt. So Felton's really taken advantage of this, and he's been the kick returner too. So I think Felton is definitely a guy who's making the team, as long as he doesn't get hurt or anything like that the next couple weeks. So if Felton is out there, go ahead, pick him up. Hassan Hall, if you had him, I picked him up because he was a UDFA running back. He's not done anything, so I safely cut him this week. Austin Watkins Jr. So he was, I think, a USFL wide receiver, one of the top receivers, and he's come in 6 for 71 in this game. He had a bunch of catches in the Hall of Fame game as well, with a touchdown. He's, I don't know if he's going to make the team, but he's definitely a practice squad candidate for sure if he does not make the team as like the 6th receiver. So I think he's better than David Bell. David Bell hasn't really done anything. I know he caught a touchdown in this game, but I think Watkins Jr. is definitely better than David Bell. Anything else that you saw here from this one?
Nah, I was glad we were going to talk about Miller Forrestall.
Yeah, he's been the Browns' 3rd tight end for a while now, and they have a bunch of tight ends. He's like a practice squad guy at best.
Right. Well, at least he got a shining moment, right? 4 catches, 66 yards. Good for him. Good for you, Miller.
Next game up, Denver and Arizona. So Russell Wilson played quite a bit in this game along with the starters. They were into the second quarter, and Russell Wilson was still playing like halfway through. So 7 for 13, 93 yards, and a touchdown for Russ. So that was nice to see. I talked about Jaleel McLaughlin. He had 4 carries, 20 yards, and a touchdown. Rushing the ball, he had 1 catch for 12 yards as well. That's if you listen to the Football Guys podcast, and Cecil Lammy, obviously he's a Denver reporter, and he talked about Jaleel McLaughlin is definitely the 3rd running back right now. And Sean Payton has a history of carrying these UDFA running backs on his team, especially if they're good. So I think there's a good shot that he makes the team. If he's still out there in your leagues, definitely pick him up. Judy caught the touchdown from Russell. That was nice to see. Cortland Sutton looked really good and healthy, and they're going to have to rely on Judy and Sutton quite a bit this year. So those two are definitely going to be big parts of that offense. The one that's super concerning, though, I don't know if you've heard the same stuff, but Greg Dulcich. He just hasn't done anything at camp, and he's kind of like buried. I think Troutman might even be above him right now.
Yeah, I think you might be right too. And it's after Adam and I are finally out on Adam Troutman, now it's finally Troutman season.
Right.
I think either way you slice it though, like we could probably bury the Albert O thing. Like I'm kind of good just done rostering him. He was always kind of that nice dart throw at tight end because of the athleticism, but if Troutman's moving up and Dolch's just kind of falling behind, like I don't really want to roster 3 tight ends off of a Denver offense that's shaky to begin with.
It sounded like to him too that Alberto would probably get cut. And like I said, they're not really using him. I think Alberto on his second team, if he gets to the right team, he could be somebody sneaky that you might have to pick up off the waivers if he gets out there. So kind of like, how Ricky Seals-Jones bounced around from a couple teams.
That's a good one.
Alberto could kind of do the same thing for sure. And then looking at the Cardinals really quick. So Clayton Tune, he didn't start, but he played most of the game, 13 for 23, a touchdown and a pick. I thought he looked all right. I wouldn't be shocked if Arizona has to start him a couple weeks if they don't want to go to Colt McCoy. Sounds like they probably would go to Colt McCoy if they're starting him in the first preseason game here. But honestly, if anybody has any of these top 6 receivers that caught balls for them, I don't know what you're doing because I haven't heard of like 2 of them out of the 6. I know like the other 3 that I've heard of their names, but not much to mention here from the Cardinals, honestly. Like I mentioned earlier, DeMercado, I cut him. He only had 6 for 21 rushing, and he was behind Tyson Williams, so I went ahead and just cut him in all my leagues.
A shout out to a Savage member in our Patreon, Dr. B. Harris. He does a perfect Conor McGregor impression of who the fuck is that guy? So that's kind of how I look at it when I see those receivers. Nice. Like I hear his voice in the back of my head.
Nice. All right, Colts and Bills. So Colts, Anthony Richardson got the start. His 7 for 12, 67 yards, no touchdowns, 1 pick. Richardson, his pick was just a high ball, got picked off. Nothing, too bad there. He did get named the starter, I think the day after the game anyway, so Anthony Richardson will be the week 1 starter. Running back wise, nothing really happened there, just a bunch of plotters. Wide receiver wise, I saw Josh Downs 2 for 29 with Gardner Minshew, so that was nice to see. But yeah, anybody else on Indy you want to mention?
No, it's kind of ho-hum. Just the A-Rich being named week 1 starter was actually the biggest news out of Indy for this week 1, which was good. Right. So really glad that he got named, and now we kind of just put this whole Gardner Minshew thing to bed.
Mm-hmm. And then Buffalo. So Kyle Allen and Matt Barkley played for them for a quarterback. Kyle Allen started. Matt Barkley was the backup. Matt Barkley outplayed Kyle Allen by a mile. I think Matt Barkley should be the backup there. James Cook ran a touchdown in, 4 for 20 and a touchdown. Cook just basically took it to the outside untouched. Quick outrun there, so that was nice to see. Wide receivers, obviously Isabella, Keyshawn Johnson. Those guys are fighting for like the 5th and 6th receiver spots. Not too interested in them. Damian Harris is still hurt, so he did not play. Latavius Murray played 5 for 18 running the ball, but he had 3 catches for 21 yards. So nice to see that Latavius got used there a little bit.
Yeah, I look at those top 2 wide receivers, just Arizona cast-offs, right? Once upon a time, Arizona Cardinals, Keyshawn Johnson, Andy Isabella. So good on them. And then you follow it up with a Raiders cast-off and Marcel Aitman, who I thought at one point was going to be the next one, the big-bodied receiver. But not too much from that game that I really took away from other than, hey, James Cook scored a touchdown. So I was pretty excited that he actually did something, right? So maybe the hype is real. Maybe the James Cook hype is real.
Possibly. We'll have to see on that one. Next game up was Tennessee and Chicago. So there was actually a lot of highlights from the Chicago side on this one, but we'll start with Tennessee. Malik Willis and Will Levis kind of just went back and forth, kind of trading series a little bit. Malik Willis did play a little bit more. I did see where somebody mentioned it that Malik Willis is the leader for the second quarterback job right now, and Levis is the third quarterback. So
yeah, I can see that happening too. And so Malik looked much better than Will did on
yes,
that.
he did. Yeah, I mean, Malik definitely looks improved, so that was good to see at least.
Will Levis's interception was absolutely brutal, and Scott Connor had to make sure that he showed it to me.
But it was at the fourth quarter when they were trying to come back to win, so it was like right at the end. So he was just throwing it.
Yep.
So I'm not going to eat his lunch for that one, but yeah, he definitely needs to improve. I'm not going to lie about that. Running back wise, Julius Chestnut 7 for 46. That was later in the game. He was like their last running back through. Tajay Spears though 6 for 32. Tajay showed that explosiveness. I thought he looked really good. Receivers, this receiver core is like the worst I've ever seen in my life, outside of the Eagles when they started James Trash and Todd Stinkston. So I know me and you remember those days.
Yes, sir.
So yeah, that's it for the Titans though, but I was happy to see Tajay look pretty good. And then the Bears, man. Justin Fields, 2 touchdowns, 3 for 3, 129 yards, 2 touchdown passes. DJ Moore took that one to the house on a quick screen, and then he had to scramble a little bit, and Khalil Herbert ran one pretty long. So did you see those 2 plays? What did you think of those?
I did, man. As a guy who's big on Justin Fields and DJ Moore this year, warms my heart, but then people just hit me with the it's screen passes and negative air yards. I think I saw the stat where it was 3 for 3, 129, right? But negative eight air yards or something like that. I don't give a shit. They scored fantasy points, man. Not official fantasy points, but it was good to see that they have a connection. DJ Moore in that open field. Khalil Herbert, that one we joked about when we were at the expo. Like Mike Vrabel probably just fired his entire defense. Right there, just cut 7 dudes. I think just because the seas parted, they just gave that one up pretty easily. But it's good to see that offense rolling. And then my boy Roshan looked very, very good. Yep. Very, very good.
Yeah, he looked pretty solid in his 12 carries, 44 yards. Had a nice 24-yard run. Caught a couple balls too. So yeah, it was nice to see him. He's definitely going to be the third running back there. I think to start the season, it's going to be Herbert and Foreman kind of splitting the duties there. Yeah. And Roshan's going to be the third guy there. Tristan Ebner didn't do shit, so he's not going to factor in. The one guy that I always shit on, I don't even know if he's going to make the team, but Velus Jones, man, he's got to show something these next couple games, or I think he definitely is on the roster bubble.
For sure.
And I don't have him in any leagues. I picked him up a couple times this offseason just to kind of wait and see, but yeah, nothing there.
I got him in best ball leagues, but as soon as he gets cut, it's over.
Next game up, Jets and Panthers. We can only talk about one side here. The Jets. Zach Wilson looked really good, 14 for 20, 123 yards on a touchdown. Vanek, we talked a little bit about earlier. He had a really nice, wicked spin move right in the open field. Missed the goal line by 2 yards after a dive for it. If you saw on Hard Knocks, that was a good play by him. Michael Carter caught the ball really well. Vanek caught the ball, 3 for 31. That's really none of the starters play. Lazard did play. Garrett Wilson didn't play or anything like that. But yeah, it was pretty good to see the Jets. And if you watched Hard Knocks, Salah's let's run the fucking ball down their throat for the rest of the game, and they pretty much did. So it was nice to see that Jets offensive line looking solid for them this year.
Absolutely nothing to talk about with the Panthers. Horrible.
No, they were terrible.
Atrocious.
Matt Corral was running for his life. I mean, his stat line doesn't look bad, 15 for 22, 126. But he was literally running for his life the whole time. That Jets defensive line just got after them. So I'd like to see a little bit more from Corral, but I mean, he's going to be the third quarterback at best there. So we'll see what happens. I cut him in most of my leagues. I didn't have too much of them. The ones that I did get were free off of waiver wires.
Right.
So I just wanted to see what happened. Maybe he would shine and maybe get traded to a team, but I don't think it's going to happen.
Nah, I just went ahead and cut him everywhere, even though I had those pre-NFL rookie drafts and, taking my pick 5. Like, whoops. We just move on now. Not going to hold it forever.
Yeah. Jags and Cowboys were next. So Jags, Lawrence was out there for 2 series. First series, he threw a pick on the first play. And then after that, he came back out 5 for 6, 36 yards, and a touchdown. And it was to Christian Kirk in the back of the end zone. So they had everybody played. Ridley played. Evan Ingram played. All those guys played. So that was nice to see. Tank Bigsby, man. I don't know if you saw his. He had a 34-yard run. He looked really good. I liked what I saw from Tank. I think Tank's going to definitely be a part of this team. ETN looked really quick, obviously, always does. Dearness Johnson. So Jermichael Hasty didn't play. I'm guessing he was... Oh, no, he did play. He had 1 catch for 3 yards, but didn't get any carries. So I don't know what to think of that. Is he just secure and they're like, okay, we're not going to play you, but... They wanted to see the other guys. I don't know.
It's hard to believe if you're out there playing ETN and Tank Bigsby that you wouldn't give Jermichael Hasty some run, right? Because you're trying to save him.
Right. So Dearness Johnson, he looked really good, and I've seen him on some waiver wires too. So I picked up Dearness. I think he's got a shot to be the number 3 here. Snoop Connor just isn't it. He was playing deep into the 4th quarter. I think Snoop Connor ends up getting cut. So I feel safe cutting him on any of my teams. He's just not special in any way.
Right.
And Calvin really looked good on his 2 catches. So I did want to note that.
Right. I was pretty excited to see the Tank Bigsby thing. I've said for a while, like, I think he's going to be far more involved than people want him to be. Like, we think the dynasty value of Travis Etienne has always been a little bit inflated here with the addition of Tank, and I think it's more a 1A, 1B situation than people want to admit. So seeing Tank get that run, he looks really, really good. Not that Travis Etienne's bad, right? Because he's very explosive running back, but Tank's going to be heavily involved in this offense as well.
Yeah, in Scott's Dynasty and Chill chat, I did mention I thought it was going to be 60-30-10, 60 for ETN, 30 Bigsby, 10 Dearness. Is kind of how I think they're going to run it this year. So,
ooh, okay. That's a lot. That's a lot for ETN. To be honest.
Yeah, I mean, it could even be lower than that. It could be 55-45.
That's kind of where I'm...
55-35, 5, right. Whatever the math is. But it could be something like that. I was just kind of making it out to be something like that because it is Doug Peterson, and you know him pretty well. He likes to use 3-4 running backs. So I think Dearness and Hasty, if they keep all 4, they're going to get a couple carries a game. So
right. Yep, I'm with you.
Dallas... Will Greer played most of the game, 22 for 31, 199 yards, 2 touchdowns. He looks solid, but that's against 3rd and 4th stringers. The one I did want to mention was Deuce Vaughn. I know he looks tiny and everything, but man, he's explosive, hard runner. I don't want to use the Darren Sproles comparison, but like he could definitely be a weapon, man. So
I know the Sproles thing feels lazy, right?
Yes,
but it
does.
But it fits.
Yes.
It fits. Darren Sproles did the same thing, right? Looks tiny out there, but you can't hit him. It's so hard to hit him to get that clean shot. Like you're like, oh, he's gonna get buried as soon as he gets tattooed. We got to touch him first. So and you can't touch him. He can't get hurt.
And it's not like Malik Davis and Rico Dowdle are elite talents.
No.
Like I could easily see Deuce Vaughn end up being the 2nd running back here behind Pollard if they don't sign anybody. So not to say that Dowdle and Davis didn't look good, because Dowdle actually looked pretty good. He looked explosive, 3 for 33 in the receiving game.
I could say Malik Davis didn't look good.
Yeah, he had 4 for 19 in the receiving game, 4 carries, 3 yards. Wasn't like spectacular, but he was with the starters because he started the game. So he was against Jacksonville's first unit. So he got stuffed quite a bit running the ball, but he did catch it. I thought he looked fine. Dowdle, I think, looked better. The other one that looked really good too is Jake Ferguson. 3 for 38, caught all of his catches. Man, he looked really good. He's definitely going to be their starter. But yeah, I just wanted to bring up Deuce Vaughn, Dowdle, and Ferguson. Those were 3 guys that caught my eye on Dallas.
I was just glad to get a Jalen Tolbert sighting.
Yeah, he actually made a nice play too. So he's another one who looked good, and he's going to be their he's going to be their 4th receiver.
I know he didn't actually take the year off, but it felt like he took the year off.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. Next game up, Eagles and Ravens. So I don't know if you got the check any of that out? You were probably...
I did, and people were going nuts too about like who wasn't playing the whole running back. You know, like Kenneth Gainwell didn't play, and Boston Scott didn't play, and all that they're saying. You know, these guys are the starting running backs. I'm like, maybe they're just playing the guys who don't know the system yet, right? Both those dudes were there last year. Rashad Penny wasn't. DeAndre Swift wasn't. We try to get him as much work as possible to learn the system and get it down before we actually get to the season. So I don't really look too much into it. Penny looked fine. DeAndre Swift, he was good. He had like one nice run. He had that real nice run. But outside of that, I didn't have too many takeaways from the offense because it wasn't anybody that
it was
probably going to be a
Cleveland and Greg Ward who even caught balls really.
You know, I forgot until this game that Greg Ward was actually in the league or on a team somewhere. Right, like still doing something.
You know who I thought actually looked pretty good was Tanner McKee. He's definitely better than Ian Book. Ian Book's awful. But I think Tanner McKee, I think they got somebody there that could at least be a competent backup in the future as long as he keeps improving. So
yeah, he didn't look too bad. It'll be interesting to see if he can actually push or beat out Mariota for the backup job. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, that's probably not till like later in the season before Mariota quits or something. So
again.
All right, so Ravens. So this one was interesting too, that Josh Johnson started over Tyler Huntley. So I did note that maybe Josh Johnson's over Tyler Huntley there. Both had a touchdown. Huntley looked better, personally, I thought. So we'll see. But Huntley was still playing with, they had Tylan Wallace out there. Melvin Gordon was his running back in the third quarter. So that was, they still had him with some good players. Melvin Gordon, 6 for 16, so he didn't really get to do too much. I still think he's making the team. They're paying him too much money to not make the team. Mm-hmm. But yeah, nothing really too much else stands out here from Baltimore. But I just wanted to bring up that Josh Johnson was starting over Huntley.
It'll be interesting to see if that actually plays out too, because Huntley was the perfect backup to Lamar when they played that Greg Roman style, right? Like he did almost not exactly what Lamar did, but very similar things to what Lamar did. And he just kind of fit. And now that they're transitioning away from that into this different style, do they not have the same ability like Lamar has to throw the ball the way Todd Monken wants it in this offense? So they might actually be looking to see if, maybe it's Josh Johnson who kind of fits that mold a little bit better and can do some of the things through the air that they want.
Yeah, for sure. Next game up, Chargers and the Rams. So quarterback-wise, nothing to mention on the Chargers side. We talked about Elijah Dotson already. Josh Kelly, 9 for 54. He looks solid. Spiller, 5 for 27. But he had that really long, 60-yard run called back on a holding. Looked fine on that. Looked healthy. So, the Chargers have also carried 4 running backs a lot in the past. So, I think Eckler, Dotson, Kelly, Spiller are all going to make the team. I'm pretty confident in that. Receiver-wise, obviously none of the big guys played. Quentin Johnston did play. He caught a nice touchdown catch from Easton Stick, so that was nice to see that. Quentin looked pretty good. Other than that, though, not too much else from the Chargers.
I'll give you one, Eric, because it's been a best ball guy that I'm pretty exposed to. Lineup, don't even bother, folks, but best ball Darius Davis. Rostering my wide receiver. He did a little bit in the receiving game, but the big important thing for me was he's back there returning kicks and actually did house one. So
yes,
I would venture to say his role on the team might be actually pretty solid. And if you can say that he's going to make the team as a deep threat wide receiver on a Justin Herbert, Kellen Mond led offense, I'm interested in best ball and rostering a lot of Darius Davis.
Yeah, for sure, because he's definitely going to be the return guy, kick returns and punt returns. He was elite at that in college, and he's going to do it in the NFL as well. So good call on that, especially if it's a league, best ball league with return yardage and stuff.
Oh, baby.
And return touchdowns. Hell yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Pick him up for free. That's a nice one. So the Rams. So Brett Rippon did start, and he only played one series, 3 for 6, 11 yards, and then they turned it over to Stetson Bennett the rest of the game. Stetson Bennett was under a lot of pressure in this game. He was running a lot, but I thought he looked pretty solid still, even though he was getting pressured a lot. 17 for 29, 191 yards, and a touchdown. Touchdown was a nice throw to Puka Nacua. I thought he looked pretty good. He's going to be somebody I want to probably roster in most of my leagues because he's going to be he ain't going to be out there for free. You're going to have to probably roster him just to see what happens there. Running back wise, Zach Evans 8 for 34. He looked fine. I thought he looked he's not like going to lose his job or anything or get cut. Tyler Johnson, the former Bucks receiver, I think he was on the Colts last year maybe.
Texans there for a while. Raiders, yeah. I think he did a stint last year as well, too.
Yeah, so he had 5 for 70. He looked pretty good. He's probably fighting for like that 5th, 6th receiver job on that team. So Nakua's going to make the team, no doubt. Demarcus Robinson has been great in camp. I think he makes the team. Plus, you got Van Jefferson and Cooper Kupp. So Tyler Johnson's definitely fighting for one of those last spots. But yeah, other than that, not too much else from the Rams.
Yeah, other than the Stetson Bennett thing was probably the biggest takeaway. I'm a known Stetson Bennett hater, but I thought he played pretty well, especially considering the circumstances. Like you said, every single snap, it was like there's a dude in his lap and he's got to make something happen. So Good for him. Yep. Good for him at 25 or 26 years old and still hasn't graduated college yet. So good for Stetson Bennett.
Chiefs and Saints. So they had Mahomes out there and Travis Kelce and all those guys for the first series. Thank God they didn't get hurt. Shane Buechele, he was the third quarterback through. Glenn Gabbert was the backup. But Buechele looked pretty good. 155 yards, 2 touchdowns. I thought he looked decent. Deneric Prince, 4 for 14 rushing, but the main one is he returned 2 kicks. So he was back to returning kicks. That's going to be one of his ways to make the roster because I think he's going to make it. I don't think they're going to try and sneak him through on practice squad, but I think they're going to keep him as their 4th running back, and they're going to have Clyde, McKinnon, and Pacheco. Receiver-wise, Richie James had a touchdown. That was a nice catch. Rashee Rice, 3 for 30. Justin Ross caught a touchdown, 2 for 29. Good to see that he was back out there in practice today after an injury scare. Nothing too much else from the Chiefs. Anything for you?
No, just with the Chiefs, like, please just don't get hurt. That's really all you're asking for, like the mainstay guys.
I think if we can get through week 2, we should be all right because week 3 they kind of play a lot of the backups usually in this new format. So, Saints, all 3 quarterbacks looked great to me. Derek Carr came out 6 for 80, 70 yards and a touchdown. He looked awesome. Jameis Winston. Jameis was taking a lot of sacks. He was running for his life a little bit too. But his stat line looks good. 11 for 13, 92 and a touchdown. Other than the sacks that he took, everything looked good on Jameis. And Haener, 10 for 17, 105, touchdown and a pick. I thought Haener looked pretty good too for a good 3rd quarterback.
Yeah, the quarterback situation, I'm really just Derek Carr. I'm still holding on to Jameis Winston hope. Haener, it's just so hard for me to roster him because of how much best ball I play. Right, that dude's going to be a 0 just about everywhere. Like it's got to be a lineup league. It's hard to roster Jameis Winston as it is, but if I got to make the bet like right now today on which one I would choose, it's going to be Jameis just because I think that talent is still there. But good to see Derek Carr come out and just kind of look real sharp with that first team offense. And I think a lot of it has to stem from like how good Alvin Kamara looked and like how good Michael Thomas looked. Like they kind of look, a few years younger. Right? They kind of look like they had that little bit of juice back. And if that's going to be the case with Olave, oh baby, this might be a pretty damn good offense.
I read an article this offseason about Carr and one of the reasons that he went to the Saints and he actually got a hold of Michael Thomas before he signed with the Saints and made sure, hey, is this going to work? This, chemistry, and him and Michael Thomas have got a really good chemistry brewing. So I'm actually kind of excited to see some Michael Thomas this year. If you could still pick up Michael Thomas for a random 2024 second, I think I'd take the chance, especially if you need some help on your wide receiver team. Receiver core.
Can you find out if it's like Matt Stafford and Cooper Kupp? Are they eating breakfast together? Because if they're eating breakfast together, I'm going to go trade for Michael Thomas everywhere.
They might be, but it kind of is like the type of receiver that he likes, those like Michael Crabtree back in the day or Devontae Adams last year, where he just, one of those guys that goes up and gets it.
Yeah.
So
I'm with you.
But yeah, you mentioned both Kamara and Michael Thomas. I thought they both looked pretty good. Kamara looked a little quicker. Thomas was just healthy. He had a helmet on, so that was good. The one I want to bring up, though, is A.T. Perry. He caught the touchdown from Jameis, 6 for 70 and a touchdown in this game. A.T. Perry looked really good. I think he's definitely making this team for sure, especially being like a 6th-round pick. They're not going to waste that pick. But yeah, he looked really good to me. I think he's going to make an impact sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I really do kind of like me some A.T. Perry, man.
And Kendra didn't do much. Then he got hurt with a knee sprain, so I'm not going to really...
He also had that horrible run where he couldn't even see the giant cutback lane, so it was like, come on, Kendra, come on.
49ers and the Raiders for the final game. So Trey Lance started 10 for 15, 112 yards and a touchdown, but he was under pressure quite a bit too. They also brought up on the broadcast, because I watched most of this game, and they are talking about Lance about, man, he's been in this system for 3 years and he's still struggling with his reads and all that stuff. So it's not like a great look for Trey Lance, but we'll see what happens. Darnold looked pretty solid as well, so it was interesting to see those two. Running backs, Tyrion Davis-Price had a couple nice runs. He's lost like 10 to 15 pounds, he said. He looks slimmer, faster, so that was nice. And then the one receiver I wanted to bring up was Ronnie Bell, UDFA out of Michigan, 3 for 58. He's going to be a playmaker. I wouldn't be shocked if he gets that last receiver spot. And he returned 3 kicks for 57 yards and 2 punts. So I think Ronnie Bell is looking like a guy who could make the last roster spot as a return guy for them.
Warm in my heart, Eric. I got a lot of Ronnie Bell all over the place, just for that simple reason, right?
All right, and the main event, what everybody showed up for on this podcast. The best rookie quarterback from week 1 or week 2 of the preseason, Aidan fucking O'Connell.
Let's go, man. I knew you'd be excited about this one.
Yeah, he, man, just watching that game, he's in command of the offense. Very accurate. He's making checks at the line, doing all kinds of stuff. Steve Mariucci was talking about him like, man, this kid can start in the NFL one day. He's got a lot of potential. So Steve Mariucci, former coach, quarterback guru, can tell me about that, about Aidan O'Connell after watching him in a preseason game. I'm pretty happy. So if somebody's willing to give you a 2nd-round pick for Aidan O'Connell right now, I don't blame you for selling him. Go ahead, sell it, get that profit. But in my leagues, I'm going to probably hold on to him unless I do get that 2nd-round pick. So definitely just one game, obviously. He played, he started. We'll see how it goes the rest of the preseason, but so far so good. Zamir White, 13 for 43 and a touchdown. He looked good. And then the receivers, there's nothing too much there. Cole Fotheringham is a 3rd tight end, 5 for 71. He looks solid, but he's, like I said, he's the 3rd tight end. So we'll see what happens there with him. And yeah, not too much else to mention there on the Raiders.
No, man, that was all about Aidan O'Connell and Cole Fotheringham.
Yes, nice name. That's a mouthful for sure.
I'm glad too. Like Aidan O'Connell did actually look really good. Look really, really good. So I knew you'd be excited when we got to come on and talk about him.
I'm not like, I actually watched most of these games, not like the full games, but most of the 10 to 15 minute highlight films of every single game I watched. Honestly, he looked like the best rookie quarterback this weekend, and I'm just not blowing smoke up his ass or anything like that. I literally watched the games, and he literally looked the best. So definitely good for him for the first week. I know he's not the most talented. He's not an Anthony Richardson or a Bryce Young or whatever, but for somebody that you got like the 4th round of your rookie drafts or off your waivers, he looked really damn good. So I was happy to see that. Yeah, that's it. That's it for the Raiders, man. Did you have anything else on them, or are you good?
Nope, there wasn't actually too much to talk about with those guys outside of Aidan O'Connell. Zamir White was okay, and everybody else, I'm like, who the hell is this dude? Who cares?
For sure.
I'm not going to give you Philip Dorsett hype on one catch. Sorry, people.
Right. All right. Well, anything else from the preseason, or are you good, man? Are you ready for America's favorite game?
I'm always ready for America's favorite game. It's what I look forward to.
Yeah, and I don't have one this week off the top of my head, so I'm gonna have to kind of think here. Did you Did you go to the actual Hall of Fame any of the last 2 years?
I have not because
Okay.
I am
I was
an
going to ask you what your favorite
alcoholic.
thing at the Hall of Fame was. But okay, so that one's out.
Listen, just be glad I showed up to my own booth at the expo. Like I made it that far. All right.
Right. Oh man, what could we do this week? Let's just do something simple. How about who's your favorite baseball team?
Favorite baseball team? I'm a Boston Red Sox fan, unfortunately. So
Okay.
I bounce around all over the place, but just a general story about me on how I picked my teams when I was younger, right? So I grew up in the Midwest. Yeah, well, I grew up in the Midwest. So everybody around me, so like how I landed on the Eagles, everybody around me is either a local teams fan, like they like the Vikings, they like the Packers, they like the Bears, or I'm in the mid 90s, so the Cowboys fangirl club is just ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's on that. And it just happened. I was watching Monday Night Football and Bobby Taylor is just beating the shit out of the Dallas Cowboys one night on Monday Night Football. And I was sold right then. Like, I hate the Cowboys. Man, I really like these winged helmets. So that's how I became an Eagles fan. Same principle for baseball, Eric. Everybody was either a Cubs fan or a Brewers fan, or I don't think I know any Twins fans. I don't think those actually existed, but those were the teams that they really liked. And of course, it's the mid '90s, so Yankees. And who do the Yankees play all the time? The Boston Red Sox, and that's how I became a Boston Red Sox fan. So I ate shit for a lot of time on my early fandom with the Eagles and the Red Sox, and then we're kind of seeing it pay off here as of late. Like it took till 2003 for me for the Red Sox to finally win one, but glad we actually did.
Okay, well, obviously being from Cleveland, I've always been an Indians fan, but they've also had some rough years. This owner is a complete dipshit and doesn't spend any money, so it's really hard to root for these assholes, to be honest with you.
Right.
So you have to kind of pick up some other teams. So obviously, growing up with the Yankees, you get Jeter and A-Rod and all these guys, Posada. And I just, nobody ever liked those guys. So I always liked the Red Sox because, they hadn't won anything yet. So obviously Manny Ramirez went there. I liked Manny. Fell in love with Big Papi, Pedroia, Pedro. I love Pedro, one of my favorite players. I love Kevin Youkilis. That was one of my favorite players. So I liked the Red Sox there for quite a bit during those, when they started winning some World Series. I wasn't like a huge fan, but I just rooted for them. Another team that I really liked back in the day was the Marlins. And that was when they had Dontrell Willis, Miguel Cabrera's rookie year, Mike Lowell, Derek Lee, Josh Beckett. When they had that World Series run and beat the Yankees, I was definitely a big Marlins fan for a couple years there. And then they got Hanley Ramirez there in a big trade with the Red Sox the one year. So those are some of my favorite baseball teams and some of my favorite memories. But obviously, I like the Indians. It's not. I'm not saying the other name because that's bullshit too. They need to change
I will say
I
did go against you just with everybody that I knew around here being Cubs fans. So when it was Cubs Indians, man, I had to root for the Cubs, man. I just wanted that feel good story, right? Same thing. I was a Red Sox fan. I knew how it was, so I was a Cubs guy that year.
Yeah, it was for both teams because the Indians hadn't won since 1948, and the Cubs were 1908 or whatever it was. So either team was gonna break a long drought. So obviously, I wanted the Indians to win.
In reality, my favorite baseball team will always be the Cleveland Indians because one of my favorite baseball movies of all time is the Major League 1 and 2. Absolutely. Both of them, 1 and 2. You have to throw the second one in there. People don't always throw that one in there, but just as good as the first one, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah. And actually, Major League 3 is not a terrible movie either.
It actually is not.
With your Downtown Anderson.
Downtown Anderson, yeah. And then he plays all these weird roles, too. Like, he's the bad guy in Justified, the series, that went on, too.
And he was kind of a prick in the one Marvel movie, Ant-Man.
Yes.
He was a prick in that movie. And then he did was it the Vice Principals with Danny McBride on HBO?
Yes. And he
was hilarious in that.
Did he play the cross-dresser in Sons of Anarchy too? Like, I'm trying to think.
I didn't see Sons.
Yeah, he's got a hell of a range. So Downtown Anderson.
Oh yeah, man. He definitely has a hell of a range. He can play serious to goofy, pretty easily for sure.
Don't sleep on Major League 3. I'm with you.
Yeah,
Underrated.
it's a solid movie. I might actually go back and rewatch that.
I'm gonna find that too. Like I kind of got the urge now.
Yeah.
Now that you bring it up.
And obviously the one guy. What the hell is it? Is it Scott Baio? Is that the
Scott Baio? Yep.
He's in everything too. He's like, I always see him like those NCIS reruns. He's in there. He's in a lot of movies. He's an underrated actor too. And then also probably one of our favorite football movies from back in the day, Unnecessary Roughness.
Yes.
He was the quarterback there too. So
great. We just went like what do they say? Like 6 degrees, 18 degrees was Scott Baio favorite baseball team to like the Scott Baio conversation. I love it.
Yeah, that's how these always turn out, man. They always just have a life of their own.
They go where it takes us. Good stuff, man. But Red Sox, answer the original question. That's my team.
Yep, and Indians for me. I don't really watch baseball anymore. The last couple years since they changed the name, I'm just kind of done with it. I got better shit to do than watch that crap. And the whole Bally Sports thing, like it's not on YouTube TV. You have to have like certain things to even watch it. So like it's like to jump through hoops just to watch your local team. Like baseball is just so dumb right now.
To watch a 3.5 hour game that you probably take a nap during.
Right.
Most times, anyways.
I love going live though. Like we literally have.
Yes.
The Lake County Captains, like literally a 3-minute drive from my house, a single A team for the Indians. And it's so nice to go when it's nice out, just go sit back and watch a baseball game. I love going live and watching. It's nice and relaxing.
It is. In-person baseball is pretty amazing.
Yeah,
Beers,
especially
a
minor league, even when there's not like a ton of people around, you can just sit back, relax, have a beer and a hot dog and watch a game. So it's nice.
On TV baseball outside of maybe the World Series is some of the most boring shit ever.
Oh yeah, for sure. And like I don't really care for the All-Star game that much.
Home
run derby's cool. I'll check out the that now that they're doing like the cornfield one, the game.
Yes.
Those are pretty cool.
Field of Dreams, baby. 15 minutes for me.
Is it really?
Yes, sir.
Have you been to it?
Yeah, Field of Dreams multiple times. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I grew up here with it, you know.
Yeah, I figured.
It was coming out when I was, a kid. So it's been pretty much my entire life. You got to think that movie's old as shit now, boy.
Awesome movie though. Kevin Costner has done some really good sports movies, that's for sure.
It's like South Harmon, man. If you build it, they will come.
I can't think of a better way to end it, man. Right there. All right, yeah, we're gonna end it right there, man. At Eric Vanek NFL, you can follow me on Twitter there. Follow the show at America's Game Pod as well. If you guys can give some follows there, that would be awesome on both of those. Remember, South Harmon Dynasty Football. Look for that on your podcast feed. Subscribe there. You'll get our podcast, America's Game, every single week. 4D is going to be dropping on there soon. All the other podcasts that we're going to have lined up coming out soon there as well. South Harmon FF YouTube. Make sure you guys check that out. Check out the website. We got Koopa's WoRP tool on there. We got Mind Warp with Scott and Adam that they put out. That video series, like whatever you said, it was like 25 videos or something like that.
25 hours of content.
25 hours of content. So make sure you guys check that out. If you want to get better at Dynasty, you want to learn about the WoRP tool, there's no better way to learn about it than with Scott and Adam. Listen to that video series. So make sure you guys check that out as well. And then Mike, go ahead, close us out, man.
That's all I got, man. I love doing these shows. Glad we got this one in a little bit longer, but we nailed it. I'm going to go hop off, eat dinner, and probably die because also when I come back from last week, Eric, like I'm working at 3 a.m. in the morning. So this is killing me.
Yeah,
it's
that's
good.
Rough.
I'm ready for the weekend already. It's only Wednesday.
Hell yeah. All right, guys. We will see you next week for America's Game, episode number 4.
See ya. Peace.